Hi, my name is Jill Vin, and I am a woman who believes in herself, and I am here to support you in doing the same. So, today I've set aside my Australia polka dot mug and some of those stories, and instead am coming to you wearing a University of Michigan sweatshirt. I went to the University of Michigan, and just like many people who have experienced college or even just the young adult years, there's both high points and low points in our lives. So I'm just imagining a few of those stories in the upcoming episodes. Today, I'm wearing the sweatshirt to help me illustrate um, how you can shift from negative, really negative feeling states into positive ones. And how this is possible, it's maybe something you've already had success doing. And once you've had success in one area of your life, I promise you that it is transferable. So let's just say, hypothetically, the football team that you support or the sports team that you support is considered the underdog and is not likely to win. And if they did, it would be a pretty major upset. So, in that case, you can imagine if you are a super fan, if it's your child or it's your team that you follow, and you're just like emotionally connected to this experience, and whether the team wins or loses, in your mind, you've got the idea of what it might feel like if they lose, what the experience will be, where you're going to be watching the game, how you're going to be reacting, who you're going to be with, all those things, right? And it doesn't feel very good. You may feel anxiety as the game is approaching. You may be preparing yourself for the worst, whatever it may be. But pay attention to these feelings. But pay attention to these feelings. They don't feel very good. It doesn't feel very good. Now, because you're this super sports fan, whether it's for your kids, yourself, or another team that you're cheering on, it is very it is very likely that you can also at the same time imagine the upset. Imagine being so ecstatic when your team wins, when you win. You know what you're wearing, you know how you're feeling, you know how you're like cheering. It just feels good in your body. Imagining the worst case scenario is a negative feeling state. Imagining the best case scenario is a positive feeling state. Which feels better? I'm going to say the positive. Subconsciously, throughout our lives, we've had wiring that sometimes takes us automatically to the negative feeling state. So it's going to take intention to identify a positive feeling state and to shift into that. So if you can do this shifting for a sports team, you can do this in other areas of your life. So for example, me, I am here because I've been developing a coaching business. That's what I've been sharing. That's what I've been doing. But when I first started, whoa, did all the doubt. And it still creeps in from time to time. So I can imagine the worst case scenario. I can imagine the failures. I can imagine how I feel. I can feel how I feel. I can doubt myself, right? And anybody who's trying something new can probably relate to those experiences and the fear that comes um, with the question of if you're going to experience success. Now, the work for me, the challenge and the process is to notice when those feelings are coming up, pay attention to them without judgment. Just notice them. Wow, isn't that interesting? You're jumping to conclusions and you're making assumptions about failure and you're afraid and you're doubting yourself, right? Notice without judgment. Now, the work that I do is what if? What if I'm successful? What if there are people who are so excited that I am available to coach and to offer support for people? What if I will create a thriving, growing business and create programs cr- that offer so much value for the people who are involved in them? Can you just feel that difference, right? What if I'm a student and I can imagine the worst case scenario, the failing grade, the not being able to understand the material, the struggle, the being behind, all of that. I can imagine those things. I know what it feels like. I have the reoccurring dreams to remind me. I haven't gone to class all semester. I can't open my locker. I don't know the locker combination, right? We have all these experiences in our lives where we can imagine the worst case scenario. Notice it, acknowledge it, don't judge it, just acknowledge it and say, wow, okay, now I have this opportunity to play around with and say, what if I get an A on that test? What if I rock the material? What if all the studying I've done makes it so that I breeze through the class? What if I remember my locker combination the minute I get to my locker? What if it all comes easily? You can apply this to relationships and friendships. So we have a friendship or we're meeting someone new for the first time. Easy to go down that path of, oh, they're not going to like me. Oh, this isn't going to work out. Pause, recognize, acknowledge without judgment. Give some love to yourself and say, okay, what if everything works out? What if we just start where we are today and building a relationship and we see where it goes? What if I take off some of the pressure and you begin to feel this positive feeling state? And that's what we want to hold. We want to keep holding that positive feeling state as much as possible, as often as possible. So when we start to shift to the negative, we're rewiring. And in order to rewire, we pause, we acknowledge without judgment, and then we find the opposite, the shift that makes us feel so much better. I'm hopeful that you continue to tune in to both yourself and your needs without judgment, but with compassion and grace and love. All my best to you. Take care.